So let's talk about the Karen Reed trial. So let's talk about the Karen Reed trial. This is Karen Reed right here, and then this is John O'Keefe. And so the question is, are we going to be okay with allowing this person to hit this guy with her car and then to leave him to freeze to death out in the snow? It's incredible, actually, that there's so much hoopla that's surrounding all this. I haven't heard any good evidence, to be honest with you, from the defense's side, okay? So let's just review some of the evidence that says Karen Reed killed John O'Keefe, okay? So they're dating, they've been dating for a while, on and off. They were kind of happy, kind of not happy. They went to one bar, they went to another bar. She drops him off at the Albert's house and then drives home. And everybody agrees with the events up until she drops him off at the Albert's house. So this is Karen Reed right here, and this is John O'Keefe. And the evidence against Karen Reed are this. They're saying that Karen Reed dropped John O'Keefe off at the Albert's house, and then she backed into him, busted her taillight. He's going to get knocked down, either unconscious, and he's going to just fall on the ground, and they're going to find him in the front of the lawn. So the evidence is they found taillight pieces. So Karen Reed's SUV has a broken taillight, and then the broken taillight, the pieces are at the crime scene. Well, shit, that almost seems like an open and shut case, doesn't it? The murder weapon, pieces of the murder weapon was found at the scene. It's her SUV. She has a broken taillight. Some other things. Okay, so they were drinking. Are they drinking and driving? They're even trying to sue the people at the bar, saying that they allowed them to drink too much. Really? We're going to go after the people at the bar? Because he's a police officer. So why would a police officer or the girlfriend of a police officer drive drunk? Then there was the mean text, and then there was the mean calls. So all throughout the day, Karen Reed is just sitting there texting him, hey, I want to talk to you. Is this thing going? Are we still a thing? What's going on? She's freaking out, thinking that he's, thinking about leaving her, thinking about being his own man, maybe, finding some other woman, or maybe just, being by himself for a while, just enjoying his wonderful solitude. There's a difference between loneliness and aloneness. And so one thing that's worse than being alone is being with somebody who makes you feel alone. That's worse than being alone. And so all throughout the day, she's texting him where the fuck are you? What the fuck is your problem? How come you're not talking to me? Why don't you text me? And then she'll call, and then he'll say, stop calling me. I'm at work, and I'll talk to you later. And so she's texting him all throughout the day. Then eventually they're out at night. I think it's a Friday night. And they go to one bar, then they go to another bar. It looks like it's all, hunky-dory. It looks like it's pretty happy. They seem to be okay together. But we see that they got a history. And they got a history of a very tumultuous relationship. Some people said that they would kind of insult each other, but it just looked like playful banter. But then, in hindsight, maybe it wasn't playful banter. Maybe one was saying something about the other, and the other one was saying something. They were saying deep-seated resentments. Maybe they were expressing their deep-seated resentments, and they were, trying to tell the world that they had problems, but people are just laughing it off like it's no big deal. Now, she seems like, I guess people might say she looks nice, and so is that what we're saying right here? Because, he's okay too, right? He's got a nice face. She's got a nice-ish face. According to Roma Army says that there's a lot of women that are out here that they should start in jail, and then they should be given reasons why they should be allowed to get out of jail. I've seen a lot of, bad people, just men and women, but to think that because you're a woman that you're just an angel because of your gender. Understanding my dogs, even if my female dogs are a little nicer than my male dogs. Both of them can chase a rabbit down and put it in its mouth and sling it back and forth, snapping its neck and then devouring that rabbit. So a female dog could be just as bad as a male dog, for better or for worse. A female dog could, be a good defender, a good protector, but then a female dog could also, if it was rabid, it could, for the rabbit at least, a female dog isn't good for the rabbit, a male dog isn't good for the rabbit. So human woman is man. Human woman is man. Whatever you don't like about man, don't think woman is incapable of doing what man is, because we're all humans, right? So man is woman, woman is man. We are the same. We are the same. To act like we are polar opposites, that, women are just all angels and men are all devils. I'm kind of sick of, I'm trying to break out of that sexist mold. You saw Macron, the president of France, got his face shoved. If he was getting in an argument with her and just shoved her face, you wouldn't hear the end of it. He probably would even have charges or something, right? But because she did it to him, we're saying that's okay. They're kind of making fun of him, saying that he's a survivor of domestic violence, but he is. And not only is he a man, but he's also the face of France. He's the head of government of France. So let's carry on here. You have a bunch of mean texts and a bunch of mean calls, okay? So throughout the day, she just, basically, what the fuck is your problem, you piece of shit? And then there's a bunch of mean calls. And I'm going to review all this here in a minute. But the mean phone calls, after she drops them off, then she's just yelling at him like, what the hell are you up to, you pervert, you disgusting pervert, you lowlife. You just sticking your dick in anything that walks around, you lowlife, you disgust me. And so maybe, she had hit him without knowing that she hit him, or maybe she hit him knowing that she hit him, but thinking or hoping that she didn't. There's little to no evidence that John O'Keefe got beat up by the Alberts. The theory of the defense, it hasn't been fully fleshed out, but a lot of times in the book Framed, the only way we know that the people that are accused are actually innocent is when they find DNA evidence of somebody else, or a confession of somebody else who did it. Once they proved that somebody else had committed the crime, that's the only way that they're able to prove innocence. So when I look at some of the people that's, covering this, right, here's a lady who's covering it.
Stranger.
And then what was the response from Miss Reed?
Hey, I was at the Hilly all weekend.
Okay, what was that? So they're talking about Brian Higgins. Brian Higgins was texting Karen Reed, and they're just sitting there kind of saying, hey, what's going on, right? So she just made a face like, oh, this Brian Higgins might be interested in that Karen Reed. That's what's really going on here. Brian Higgins was interested in Karen Reed. A plus B equals purple dinosaur, and the lava rocks of Mount Vesuvius. I don't understand. So Brian Higgins, they caught him in a lie. He said he wasn't calling anybody when he was at the police station moving cars. He did make a phone call, but he was at the police station moving cars, right? Think about that. You're trying to do something nice. It's snowing, and so you're just trying to keep everybody's cars warmed up so that way people, can drive and that the roads are cleared. So he moved like 5 to 10 people's cars, and then for some reason he had testified that he wasn't making phone calls, at the police station. And so, to be generous with him, maybe he wasn't making a bunch of secret phone calls telling people to hide the evidence. He made some phone calls about, okay, which car is yours? This car is yours? Okay, what do you want me to do? Oh, you want me to get your bag, get your thing? Okay. So maybe that's what he was trying to say. He wasn't making, you busted Brian Higgins in a lie. The same thing with Jennifer McCabe. They said busted in a lie, or actually it wasn't Jennifer McCabe, it was somebody else. It was, I don't know. I can't even believe I know these people's names. But there's another woman who had testified at the grand jury that she knew that Jennifer McCabe had done a Google search at 6 in the morning when they found John O'Keefe's body. There was some, audiovisual technician or some shit that said, well, actually that text happened at 1:30. So there's like 5 logged entries, 5 of the 6, or 4 of the 5 or whatever. The majority, there was only 1. So the majority of them said that the search had happened at 6 in the morning, 6:30 or whatever in the morning when they found John O'Keefe's body. But one audio technician says, actually, the search happened at 1:30 in the morning. Well, the woman testified to that at the grand jury, and they said, well, actually, you didn't know that for sure. You didn't have personal knowledge. And she said, no, I didn't have personal knowledge, so you lied. And it wasn't that I lied. It's just that Jennifer McCabe had told me what had happened, so I knew that it had happened. I knew that it to be the truth. So they're just trying to say that you lied. You didn't have personal knowledge. You were actually testifying to something that somebody else had said, didn't you? And yeah, I guess yes, I had testified to something else that somebody else had said that I believed to be true. So ultimately, the truth of what she said is, the truth. Did she see it? No, she didn't see her Google, how long do you freeze in the snow? How long does it take to freeze in the snow? So look, we got this courtroom confidential.
And
you have all these live streams.
Supposed 2 to 3 millimeters of overlap was insufficient to cause the tail light of the Lexus to contact the rear of the Chevrolet. You recall saying that?
That's correct.
Now, I would like you to look at that. This is from your slide presentation. Is that not showing contact between the two vehicles?
Oh, it absolutely is not. What you're seeing is a portion of the vehicle that is behind the area. Keep in mind the angle, the Lexus is angled off to the left. So the area that you see here is actually, in this case, in front of where the taillight is. This is why we tried showing it from a whole bunch of different angles, because when you try and take a 2-dimensional image and look at it, you see stuff in the background. So and again, this is why in the computer, we overlaid them, looked at the measurements, in the computer, where you don't have this, we have the 3-dimensional measurements, and it does not hit.
Where did you show in your slide presentation what you just said, that it doesn't show in overlap?
Okay, so you see what's going on. They're talking about the taillight. So what the defense is saying, well, actually, she had backed up, and that's where she had busted her taillight, there at the scene when she was just, moving the car here and there. I don't think that showing that Karen Reed is accident prone and can just kind of hit people's cars and hit people's, hit this, hit that, run into everything, that she's a bad driver. I don't see how her being a bad driver actually is a defense. They're trying to say that the taillight was broken in a different period and different time. But look, you got Karen Reed right here, Karen Reed right here, crime junkie jury, hillbilly crime, court TV. Everybody's, live streaming this Karen Reed trial. Who's taking notes? Who's taking notes? And you got a T-chart. What's the evidence saying that she's guilty? What's the evidence that says that the Alberts are guilty? Okay, so this is what the Karen Reed people are trying to say, that John O'Keefe was taken into the house of the Alberts. There was a dog, too, and the Alberts had beat him up, and they murdered him, and the dog attacked him. So you had the dog who attacked him, you had the father and the brother, and then they attacked him. This is a party of like 10 to 20 people. But for some reason, John O'Keefe is down in the basement with just these 2 people. They beat him up, and then they drag his body out into the lawn, and then they sprinkle taillight pieces of Karen Reed's taillight to frame her. This is just so much effort, so much work. This is just preposterous. This is absolutely ludicrous. So there's little to no evidence of John O'Keefe being beat up by the Alberts. She also shouts that she hit him. She says, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. She had also asked the question, do you think I hit him? So, they were drunk, And so to be as generous as possible, maybe it was negligent homicide or negligent manslaughter, not exactly first degree, it wasn't premeditated, it wasn't like she had deliberated, but hits the car, right, drunk, pissed off, he's getting out of the car, going to this thing that she's not going to, she doesn't really want him to go, want to stay with him, he gets out of the car, gets ready to go, they have some words, and then she gets all pissed off and then punches the gas, right, hits it in reverse, hits him, and then takes off. Is it possible she could have hit a human body and not known about it? I think you would have felt something. I think you would have felt a little bit of something. And then maybe, to be generous again, that the jolt of the car, okay, he got hit, but it wasn't a fatal hit. It wasn't like, you just hit him in the head and he's knocked out cold on the front lawn. So she said that she hit him. She asked the question, did you think that I hit him? And then she's kind of being hysterical, and she wants somebody to sort of reassure her that she's not the murderer. So she's like, I hit him! I hit him! I hit him! No, Karen, you didn't hit him. It'll be okay. You didn't do it. When she's going around searching for the body, right? So, okay, they drop her off at midnight. She makes these late-night phone calls, yelling at him, telling him that he's, a whore, essentially. You little whore. Why don't you come back to your girlfriend/wife that you've never raised a family with or anything? How come you're not being totally loyal to me as if we've had 30 years of... She gets two friends, goes to search for John O'Keefe. They go to the Alberts. She sees the body in the snow before anybody else does. People drove past, back and forth. Nobody saw the body was in the snow. The snow is going to pile on top of John O'Keefe. So nobody who passed that road, nobody who went to the party, came in and out of the party, had seen the body. When Karen Reed is going around looking, she goes to the spot where she had dropped him off and hit him, and then says, oh, there he is, right there. I see him. He's out in the snow. And she was kind of getting hysterical. Oh, my God, there he is, and stops the car, and then they get out of the car. When she was saying, there he is, like the two ladies that was in the car was like, where are you talking about? We don't see the body at all. So she was seeing something that they hadn't seen. It's just convenient, isn't it? That, she wakes up, oh, John O'Keefe isn't here, I need to go search for him. Where do you want to search for? I don't know. Let's go search in the front yard of the Alberts house. Why would you want to look so specifically? Why? Well, I kind of remember a thing. We were drunk and we had an argument, and I kind of backed into him a little bit, and I hit him, and I didn't think that I hit him terribly. And we were drunk, and I was mad, and I didn't know for sure, but then I started thinking, oh my God, what if I hit him? And what if oh my God, did I do it? Did I hit him? Did I hit him? Oh my God, I hit him. So all that together, all those pieces together, she's the first one to, come across the body. There's little to no evidence that John O'Keefe got beat up by the Alberts, and then the dog had attacked him, and then they had planted all this evidence. The stuff that they're pointing out in the trial is just ridiculous stuff. The main investigator, Proctor, he had, got her phone and said there's no nudes. So he made some sort of lewd joke. So, you got to be perfect on the up and up and up and up and up and up, right? You're doing an investigation. You can't make any sort of, jokes with any sexual innuendo whatsoever. So, to be generous to him, he's just joking, right? So they got the evidence, they got the phone, and then they searched the phone, and he says, no nudes, right? He's a man, right? He's a man, and wanting to see, a woman naked, is that so shocking? But that doesn't exonerate her. How does that exonerate her? Because a cop had made some sort of, sexual innuendo joke. That all of a sudden means she didn't run into him with the car. The truth is the truth is the truth. Objective justice stands upon objective truth. And so we need to know what objective truth is, and the truth is immutable and eternal. The truth will go on forever and ever and ever. So while it looks like, to me, the evidence says that Karen Reed had ran into John O'Keefe and then took off, and then, I think Karen Reed is guilty. If she isn't guilty, then the truth will stand forever. If it was the Alberts that had took him inside the house and beat him up, and then the dog attacked him, and then they dragged his body out, then there's 10 to 20, people that's inside this house, and none of them are none the wiser, and none of these people have testified to anything remotely close to anything like that. if that's the truth, then that will always be the truth, you know? So the truth is eternal. So let's take a look at the evidence, all right? So you have these taillight pieces, right? It's saying that the defense's position is that the taillight fragments used as evidence against Karen Reed were actually planted by the Boston police and the Canton police. So you just saw them talking about the vehicle, right? The vehicle in question. So here's the vehicle. Clearly her back right taillight is broken out, almost completely broken out. And then here's, you know, the piece that's broken out, and then it looks like even this big piece that's broken out, you have a lot of smaller pieces that are broken out too. Here's some of the piece fragments. So they found this at the crime scene, right? This is the piece of taillight right there in the snow at the crime scene, right where John O'Keefe's body was. So they're telling me that the Alberts beat him up, dragged him out in the snow, and somehow found Karen Reed's taillight. Somehow they found Karen Reed's taillight, and they put the piece of taillight into the snow. Do you hear yourselves? Do you guys hear yourselves whatsoever? Like, that would be incredible. That would be incredible. You know, they had the evidence in the evidence locker, and then the day after, you know, this almost makes it seem like the police need to videotape everything from the beginning to the end, because there is, you know, the court, but then there's the court of public opinion. And so, in terms of the court of public opinion, it very much, you know, if they want to try to put doubt on the damn thing, and then, you know, some of these pictures don't look exactly right, but they're saying, you know, this piece went here, this piece went there. I mean, look at all the work that's going into the damn thing. But her taillight is definitely broken. There's definitely a taillight that's, you know, pieces of the taillight that's at the scene. That's actually at the scene of the crime. Now, is that the smoking gun? Kind of. It kind of is. The gun isn't smoking, but it'd be like if you had shot somebody with a gun and you had left a piece of the gun there. You know, the piece of the gun that's your gun. A piece of your own gun was found at the crime scene. So there it is, right? A piece of the taillight is right there in the snow. And so who are you going to believe, right? You're going to believe their words or your own lying eyes? You see the taillight. The taillight is clearly broken. The taillight from the SUV is broken. Even the piece that came out of the taillight is broken. And then there's a piece of taillight that's in the snow. That's damning evidence. That is some damning evidence. Now, let's take a listen to some of these phone calls that Karen Reed was doing. So, Karen Reed phone calls to John O'Keefe. I feel like, in some respects, it's almost like these Karens, right? She's literally is a Karen. You have all these Karens in this, you know, in this country that keeps on just doing all these belligerent, over-the-top, violent, stupid things over the most petty, insignificant crap. And so it almost seems like, even though police have a lot of power, do the Karens have more power than the police? If you are just, by the virtue of your skin color and gender, are you allowed to just back into a damn cop and then, you know, get rid of them and let them die in the snow? If you're a Karen, you could yell about your morning latte, and you can, you know, and then look, she's so celebrity, right? Sitting there waving to all her supporters and stuff, and she's good on the camera, right? She talks to the camera, and she talks to the reporter, and she tries to be somewhat respectful to folks. A lot of things annoy me about her, but I'm not going to get into what annoys me about her. So let's see here. There's voicemails and some of these text messages.
This is not a scam. The health food allowance card is available for those on Medicare.
Massachusetts for the Karen Reed.
Calls between them on January 29th.
Yes, that's correct.
And 21610 on January 28th, 2000.
There's the messages from before 2:16 in the morning.
I'd like to introduce this as an exhibit, Your Honor.
Okay.
No objection, Your Honor.
Great, thank you.
The reason you've been like this.
All right, so here's some of the text messages. This is from Karen Reed to John O'Keefe. Tell me if you're interested in somebody else, okay? I can't think of another reason why you're being so distant. There's clearly another woman. Just tell me about the other woman, and we'll handle it from there, okay? Just tell me about the other woman. And then, he's trying to say, like, just short little no. Defendant calls John. The call is rejected. Let's
Was not answered. That means the call rang out and goes to voicemail. If the call is rejected, that is someone actively hitting the send to voicemail button to disable the call, to stop it from ringing. From John.
So he says the kids are there. He's not in the mood to talk. And then here's from Karen Reed. So you're not into it anymore. That's fine, but I don't want to keep trying and you keep treating me like this. I don't want to keep trying to, mend our relationship and then you're just kind of being distant. You're not talking to me. It seems like he's already kind of checked out. And so, if two people, it's kind of sad because when you're in love, it could be the best feeling ever and then you're the bestest of friends. But then when you fall out of love, it's like your best friends, you turn into the worst enemies. And it's like the worst turnaround in the world. It's a total 180. It's like we were the bestest of friends. Like, even if we're not lovers anymore, can't we just be like neighbors? Can't we just be cool with each other? And it's like, nope. I have to rip this Band-Aid off and we're broken up and I'm just moving on and I don't need you calling me anymore. So you're not into it anymore, right? She's saying that declaratively with a period. That's fine. You're not into it anymore. That's fine. You don't want to be with me? That's cool. I just don't want to keep trying and then you just keep treating me like this. Okay, why are we talking more about it? If it's fine, then it's fine. Move on. So he's not in the mood to talk. If you're not into it, I'm trying to hug and kiss you this morning and you whack me in the face with a pillow, right? So, she's trying to be all lovey-dovey, but you could be smothering, right? And so he hits him in the face with the pillow. Was that like a assault? Did you get assaulted? Because if you got assaulted by him, why would you go out later on that night? That's what it's kind of saying. But it's kind of, with the pillow, it's just kind of like, all right, can you just kind of, give me my space right now? Last night, you're basically, yeah, what about when we talked about the future? So why don't you just admit that you're not into us so much anymore? Just admit it. Just admit it. It's not how it went down, but okay, sure, whatever. Sick of always arguing and fighting. Here's John O'Keefe. Can you please admit your head is out of the game with us? Just admit it. Just tell us. And then, maybe John O'Keefe should have just been like, he might have just liked her, what she looked like, and maybe just was into the sex or some shit. And here's John O'Keefe, right? So this is John O'Keefe speaking from the dead. I'm sick of always arguing and fighting. It's been weekly for several months now. So we've been arguing and fighting for, weeks, weekly. So that's every other week. It's just like we just kind of just start, arguing and fighting. And we've been doing it for months. So yeah, I'm not as quick to jump back into being lovey-dovey as you apparently, okay? I don't want to be all lovey-dovey right off the top the way you were. Like, my God, like, then she calls again. And then, again, he rejects her phone call. And then he says, oh my God, stop calling. Then why would you start with me this morning? You're setting me up to fail, So it just kind of keeps coming at him, which, if there's still a spark of love there, you started a number of fights from your end. You're the one starting the fights. I've explained it a few times already. I'm not doing it again. I have to sit here. So you're not into this anymore. You're not into this anymore? Not into fighting all the time? Yeah, correct. If you tell me you're interested in someone else, you will never hear from me again. You could have all the space in the world. So it has to be that I'm interested in someone else? No, I'm just sick of you. I'm sick of you. You need to work on your shit. You need to be able to, give me my space when I want to. Let's just be friends. Can we just go for a walk in the park without being, without being so much drama? He's got a smiley face emoji, I'm not sure. Then stop starting with me. You're starting with me. Defendant calls John and it's rejected. I am not answering. Stop calling. Can you please answer after how you treated me earlier? Can you please answer? Right? So I want us to be good and in love. But then, remember how you treated me earlier? You pretty much have to pick up. This is a narcissist. She is a narcissist. I'm going to grab a drink in a bit. Defendant calls John. Rejected. No, Karen, not sure why you need to announce that you're grabbing a drink, but have fun, right? I'm going to go get a drink. You're just texting me that you're going to go get a drink. You want me to go? Can you please call me? Please just call me. Hear my voice. be around me. You'll see how nice and sensitive and wonderful I am, and you'll want to be into me like you were. Remember when you were just obsessed with me? Can't you just get back to being obsessed with me? So he's a father, so he's got to, take his kids to the doctor. Karen Reed is guilty. There are some people that saying that Karen Reed killed a man. This is about Officer John O'Keefe, not you. So I'm glad that there's sort of people on both sides.
All right, this feels almost illegal to know, but our windows were so old and just desperately needed to be...
Online, it just seems like a lot of people are defending her.
2:55 p.m. on the 28th. 3:01 p.m. the defendant calls John. It's not answered.
So she calls him again, not answered, rejected, calls again. I mean, how many times has she fucking called him? She's called him about 5 or 6 times. How many times has she texted him? Like, dozens of times, right? Now his father's in the house. No, not right now. I'm there when anyone else needs me. How come you're not there for me? I'm always there for you, but you're not there for me. So using guilt trip. Yes, John, you gave me utter grief this morning. I'd like you to call me for a minute. I've been trying to get over the hump with is arguing, and now you're telling me that you're not into things, and you don't want to fight weekly, but fly off the handle at 8 a.m. with me. It's like you're setting me up to fail. She just keeps saying stuff, right? Just kind of keeps saying something to eventually get his attention, and then, all right, now I'm back to being obsessed with you, okay? Now I'm obsessed with you. Is that where maybe he doesn't want to be obsessed with it. Maybe he wants to control his own life, control his own finances, control his own household. He wants to just have good, strong institutions. He wants some structure and discipline in his life. He's trying to construct a civilization here, right? If you're trying to engineer an airplane, you don't really need, all this craziness. I've been dealing with my own personal crisis over things I have zero control over. I'd like to lean on you too sometimes. Instead, I just hear everything I've done wrong. Well, if you've done some things wrong, work on yourself. If he's done things, work on himself. And if you two aren't meant to be together, both of y'all should just walk the fuck away. So now she's trying to, I've been guilt tripping. Look, calls him again. Look at this. 250, 251, 252, 253. Calls John, rejected, not answered. This woman is obsessed. This woman is out of her damn mind. You seriously cannot pick up the phone for 2 seconds? It won't be just for 2 seconds. And then here's some more. Calls again. Wait, John calls the defendant. Answered. And then it says it's a 5-minute phone call. Eventually he talks to her for 5 minutes. Oh, John O'Keefe. Why don't you meet me at the hillside at 4:30, 5 o'clock? Or whenever, you get everyone settled. Like I said, doctor now has got practice till 6. If you want to go start drinking, then go for it. I didn't know the times of his practice. Yeah, there's a 72-year-old taking up shop on my couch. Is he going to Collins? Not tonight. So do you plan on going out tonight? So now they're talking, right? Now he's not just like,
I ordered
want to live my
200
life
hand-forged
now.
knives
Now
for my
he
dorm
opened
room
the door.
and built a Wix website to sell them.
He opened the door for a tiny possibility.
How this
State Police, and he...
4:59, 45 p.m.
We just got home waiting to see what Papa decides here, or else I have to get to Patrick at 6. I mean, I don't know if you get the picture or not, but it just seems fucking obsessive as shit. I understand, relationships. And so if there was a spark that's still there, okay, I kind of want her to keep fighting. But this is just, she basically feels like they're breaking apart. And that's sad. It's like it's a tragedy. It's a death of a relationship. So, are you staying home or coming here? Waiting to see what you end up doing. I don't want to hang out at the house too much, like I said. Let's see here. There's a blizzard coming, so we'll be inside all weekend. It will be over by noon tomorrow. Don't think so. So she's like, it's a blizzard. We could just, stay. It'd just be me and you, and then you and me and you, and it'd be just wonderful. It'd be like if we were just star-crossed lovers in our 20s instead of, in our 40s. Well, when you know the story and you want me to come up, let me know. No, Karen, you decide what you want to do. I know your heart isn't in this anymore. If you know for sure, how many times have you said it? I know you're not into this. What do you need him to say? Like, no, I don't want to be with you anymore. Like, you want him to just flat out just say it. And then maybe he should just say it. Maybe he should just have, a realization, because she keeps on asserting it, and then he keeps on kind of saying, like, he keeps fighting it, because if somebody says, you're like this, well, I'm not like that. It's just that you're pushy and you're trying to get me to say, no. I felt it for a while, especially lately. I'm willing to try more, but not if you're approaching the point of indifference. If you want to come up and you can head out for a while, then say so when you know what your father is doing. You come up and I head out, really? I've already told you already, I don't bounce back as quickly after you do, after we have a battle. No, head out together or meet out. Going to send Patrick to Collins. I'll let you hang with Mike for a few. Don't need to butt in. Text me when you think you may head out. Can you send me? I paid the last bill. You didn't have to do that. Thanks. Are you really not going to accept my friend request? Now we're sending a friend request from what? On what? Facebook? Yeah, we've been going out for 2 years. I haven't gone on. You defriended me over a year ago, I believe. He hasn't gone on Facebook. So you're not going to friend request me, so now we're having Facebook issues. Carrie texted that they're headed out in a bit. Okay, she's going to let me know where. So you're going to meet them, just presenting it as an option. Wouldn't mind hanging out with them for a drink. Is Mike over?
This is one simple cleaning trick seniors can use to instantly clean toilets without any scrubbing. Take your most disgusting toilet, yes, even that nightmare in the guest bathroom you've been
All right, so
6:29:45 p.m.
So you got the gist, right? There's also phone calls, right? There is voicemails that she had left, and she's just sitting there like yelling at him and shit. And I don't know if this had done from before, right? Oh, this is a celebrity. It's all about celebrity. I'm just trying to get to the evidence. Where is the evidence? Here we go.
College professor called O'Keefe's cell. Hey, she was in a jealous rage.
John, nobody knows what the you want.
The former college professor called O'Keefe's cell. He was in a jealous rage.
John, nobody knows what the you want.
John, nobody knows where the fuck you are, you fucking pervert. Nobody knows where you're at, you fucking pervert. That's crazy. You hit him with the car, and he's dead in the fucking snow. And not only is she just, just flying into this jealous rage of what? I've never even heard about another woman being a part of the picture. What are you jealous of? There's no jealousy. He's just trying to get away from this, just controlling, over the top, oppressive psychopath. Just a complete psychopath. Listen to this.
As a girl, you're a loser.
So you're fucking another girl. You're a fucking loser. Fuck yourself, right? Jesus Christ. That's a lot. That's intense. And then we only showed those clips, but I bet you there was more phone calls, right? There's probably, voicemails throughout the day and voicemails at the end of the night. But that is not a person that's like, oh my gosh, I'm, so heartbroken. I'm going to work on myself. Clearly I'm a little overbearing and I'm a little needy. And I need to, I need to learn to love myself and need to learn to be able to just be alone, with myself and let you do your thing. And then, so that way we have quality time when we get together, right? We hang out for an hour or two, and I've been preparing, all day. I'll be well rested, and I'll have a whole bunch of different things that we could do here, there, and something else. And I'll be the least worried. You have all these other worries in the world. I don't want you to worry about me. I don't want you to think about, anything that, if we had issues, we don't have issues. I just want this to go smoothly. And so, I'm going to be patient with you. I'm going to be wise. I'm going to be strategic. I wouldn't mind hanging out with other people, like another female too. What are we talking about? I don't have plans with them. She just said they're headed out in a bit, and we'll text when they land somewhere. If you want to go out with Mike solo, that's fine. Just let me know. I already told you what you should do. Not going to keep doing this. God. That's exhausting. That's just exhausting, you know, reading it from a third-party perspective. Imagine, like, being in the middle of that. I mean, John O'Keefe should have, like, kind of stood up for himself and said, you know what? Yeah, we are done. I'm sick of you. This is bullshit. You just keep being cruel to me. And, you know, while I'm into the sex, my God, I can't just throw my whole life away just for the sex. So there's another thing where it's saying that she hit him. Let's see. I hit him. I hit him. So she says that she hit him, or somebody had testified that she said
Hello.
had hit him. Look,
My name.
Here's a caption. Just says the paramedic recalled Karen Reed saying, "I hit him. I hit him. I hit him." So we'll take a quick look at that. And then the whole, how, you know, the search, how long has he been in the snow? Karen Reed had told her to do the search. Karen Reed says, hey, will you Google search this for me? So Karen Reed is now getting her female friends that's involved, and now that search is going to be put into question because, actually it happened at 1:30. You and your buddies had killed John O'Keefe, and you were sitting there figuring out how long it would take to kill him. And so while you're sitting there figuring out how long, that's when you made the search. Karen Reed told, you know, Jennifer McCabe to do the damn search that they're trying to say.
Thank you, Your Honor.
There's this one lawyer who I was kind of listening to. I don't want to say the lawyer, you know. He's put out a whole bunch of stuff in it. So at the very end of it, he was kind of saying, like, and then at the end of the day, who gives a damn? None of this stuff matters. Nothing matters. You know, so it's like the truth doesn't matter. Justice doesn't matter. If you're a defense attorney, you're just trying to poke as many holes into the main narrative as you can. You're trying to find some sort of technicality, some sort of loophole, some sort of way to get your client off the hook. It's just bullshit that this is how our justice system is. It's not like, you know, all this time and effort to say whether she's guilty or not guilty. We could have been putting all this time and effort, if there is, you know, the real killers are out there, we could be investigating it. The judge could totally take a hold of this case and then get all the information. So what is your theory? You're saying that these people have done this, done this. What is your evidence to suggest something like that? All the people inside the house had signed affidavits saying that John O'Keefe never went into the house that night. There's just so much evidence against Karen Reed. Now, if you're a Karen, if you're, you know, you're just if you're a Karen, right? If you're a Karen, if you're just a pretty face, Caucasian, if you think you're above the law, if you think that you could act as crazy and criminal, as insane as you possibly want to, well, then that's why they're going to, you know, say that she's innocent. She's innocent because you're a Karen. You're a Karen too. So let's see here. Here's a little thing. It's saying drink 1, drink 2, and then all the text messages, right? They begin fighting over text messages at, you know, 10 in the morning. And then they're just 2:25, 2:30, 2:34, around 3 p.m. Text Erin O'Keefe asking if she can go out without Paul. Karen says, wish I didn't speak to another O'Keefe after 2004. Karen receives drink number 1, drink number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 drinks. And she's only 100 pounds. 7 drinks, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. 9 drinks in a 2-hour time span. 1 beer, you know, I think you could get away with 1 beer when it comes to the blood alcohol limit. But you're telling me she had 9 drinks from 9 o'clock to midnight, and then she's going to get in her car and drop them off, and this is with a police officer? I mean, in a way, they're both breaking the law with their drinking and driving bullshit. And this is officers of the law doing this stuff, you know? And I hit him, so I'm not for sure where this paramedic, if I could get straight to the thing where the paramedic...
Turned around and I went right back to where I previously knelt, which was right at Mr. O'Keefe's head, and then I took over the ventilation aspect of a cardiac arrest. So I was in charge of the airway. So I began giving him positive pressure ventilations with a bag valve mask, which is just a glorified balloon that you can push oxygen through and down into your respiratory tract to get oxygen moving. While I was doing that, I believe firefighter EMT Kelly had begun CPR.
So is this fair to say? I'd like to...
Typically his were deep or in breaths into the individual. You can kind of hard plastic.
Hit him. Did you ask any follow-up questions?
I remember aspects of various calls, but not all of them, no.
Do some stand out more than others?
Yes, sir.
Did this particular moment stand out more as compared to your typical or most calls that you've been to?
It did, just because of the setting. I mean, it was the weather, it was the unknown factors, and it was the attempting to try and get information and not really being able to glean anything from that.
After the defendant said to you, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, did you ask any follow-up questions?
I really didn't get a chance to, because following that, the individual just kind of walked away, or just kind of went in a different direction. I wasn't able to ask any follow-up questions.
Saying to you, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
I remember it very distinctly. In the process of providing ventilations, I said, do you know this person?
The person that you looked up and saw that was standing over you with blood on her face, do you recognize that person in this courtroom?
Yes, sir.
With the court's permission, sir, could you point out that person that you looked up and saw?
It's, in between Mr. Jackson or next to Mr. Jackson.
I see. And when you looked up and saw that person and asked about any background, what did she say to you?
I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
How clearly do you remember her words saying to you, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him?
I remember it very distinctly.
So, is she saying it because she's saying that she didn't hit him and she wants reassurance? Or hell, if you listen to all the text messages, he's trying to get away from her, he's trying to lead his own life, and there is no other woman, it's just she's overbearing and obsessive, and he just wants to get away from her. So she says, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. You have all those affidavits of all the people in the house that said that he never even went into the house. You got the broken taillight pieces. They're drinking. She had 9, alcoholic beverages. I feel like at best you could say it's negligent, vehicular manslaughter. But, I bet you there's some intent, there's some hatred there. Is there not hatred all over the place? There's the mirror opposite of a psychopath is an empath. Now, I don't know John O'Keefe's perspective. I don't know if he's an empath, because it seems like even if it could be like a drug, even though you know that you don't want to be with her, the sex is just so good that you keep going back for more. And so instead of just saying, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm done with this. I got myself a good job. I got a career. I'm trying to run my house here. I need to take care of my family. And their, peace of mind, their security, they're going to have to, I got to have college funds, and then they're going to get careers and jobs too. I need to be focused on this stuff. I can't just go out and about just, drinking with whomever just for the hell of it. They're talking about, I don't know, how they drove into the damn thing and something. I don't know what they're pointing out right here. So just the evidence just seems, she says it 3 times to the paramedic. I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. She sees the body in the snow first. She's been drinking 9 drinks. They drop her off at midnight. She's making all these crazy-ass phone calls, crazy-ass texts. And this is just for the day. How many texts has she been texting him like for the past few months? He's saying that, for weekly, they've been fighting for months weekly. So every other week, it's like they keep on just having these terrible spats. Nobody else saw him. It was just him and her. She pulls up to the house, drops him off. They got word. She backs into him. And then they want to say, look at the scratches on his arm. The scratches on his arm that looks more like a dog. And then there was like no DNA on the taillight or something. Well, there wasn't any DNA on the taillight. I think you could probably scrape somebody or scratch somebody with like negligible amount of, skin getting onto the knife. Now, if you've ever cut up some steak or something, there is like pieces that's on there, but that's you had to cut it several times. Is it possible that the taillight, let's, consider some of their arguments, okay? We'll consider some of their arguments. So no DNA on the taillight of the SUV. I think if it was a quick cut, or if the taillight hit him and then he gets cut by the broken pieces, right? It's the bludgeon, right? He's bludgeoned to death, so he gets hit in the head, and then his arm is getting scratched up, so he gets hit in the head. Maybe he got scratched up by the concrete or something on the ground. Maybe the taillight hit him in the head, and so therefore no DNA would be scraped. I don't know exactly how he gets hit and how he falls, and the scrapes on his arm seem to indicate that the taillight hit his arm. So he's walking away, she just backs into him, and then his arm hits the taillight. What about the taillight on the car had no DNA? Were there DNA on the taillight pieces? I mean, that could show, guilt. I don't know if it would show innocence. So there's also this one guy is saying, well, where's the dog? Where's the dog? They had a dog, and then they're territorial, and, dogs are pack animals. You're telling me that Jennifer McCabe ran into the damn house and then there's no damn dog? Well, she runs into the house. Dogs, if they're familiar with you, they might not bark at you at all. They're like, oh, that's just, one of our friends' friends. Also, it could be in a different part of the house. And then to say that dogs are like these vicious sort of, sandlot, foaming at the mouth, rabid dogs. Cows are like that. Goats are like that. They're herd animals and they're territorial. So if a goat is in the yard and you walk in and it doesn't neigh at you, does that mean a damn thing? It doesn't mean a damn thing. There's also, earlier text, I already mentioned about how long to freeze in the snow. I think it's just bad electronic science. 5 of the 6 text messages, the electronic people, whatever, however they did it, they said, 5 of them came back that she texted at 6:30. One of them had said that it was done at 1:30. And the last thing that I'll mention is I just like how, Jennifer McCabe answers her questions. Jennifer McCabe answers the questions like really good. Jennifer McCabe, she's like real thoughtful. She's real slow. She listens to the question, and then, she listens to the question and she answers the question. So, yeah, let's just click on this one here.
Don't put pink salt under your tongue unless you're really ready to stop looking like a whale swimming and see your jeans falling off in just 1 week. Today I'm here...
Okay, Oprah, I'll goddamn get to the pink salt. I hear ya. Pink salt is...
She mentioned it then as well, but she also had told me when she was on the phone, that's why my husband yelled out that we shouldn't be driving with a cracked taillight.
But in fact, you did not tell Trooper Proctor that story. What you told him was she told you on the drive back to One Meadows after having picked you up, correct?
I told him she told me in the morning and on the drive back.
So if he didn't write that in his report, it's obviously incorrect. Objection.
Sustained.
Of course, that drive back to One Meadows would have been 5:30-ish or so. Maybe even a little later, 5:35.
Approximately, yeah, I'm not sure.
Well after she backed out of the driveway and struck another vehicle at One Meadows, correct?
Do you know that?
No, I have no idea.
All right, next question.
Speaking of Trooper Proctor, when you first interviewed with him during that same interview on January 29th, you noticed that he was taking notes, obviously.
Yes, he was.
You told him about your observations of the taillight that day, is that right?
I'd have to see the report, but I believe I told him about it, yes.
And that was literally the same day that you made the observations, is that right?
Yes, it was.
He asked you to describe specifically what the taillight looked like?
Mm-hmm.
And you did so, correct?
Could I see the report?
All I'm asking right now, I've got the report.
Okay.
If you need it, I'll give it to you. I'm asking about your memory, Ms. McCabe. Did you tell him about what the taillight looked like?
If he asked me what the taillight looked like, then I would have told him what it looked like, yes.
And what you told Trooper Proctor on that day is that you, quote, saw a crack in it. Is that right?
I believe I said it was broken and cracked, and it was missing pieces.
Isn't it true that what you actually said is, we got out at John's house and looked at the taillight, back right taillight saw crack in it, correct?
I said that I saw it, and it was cracked and it was missing pieces.
You noted that he was taking notes, correct?
Correct.
Have you ever seen those notes?
No.
Would it refresh your recollection as to what you actually told him in terms of that description to take a look at his notes?
So ask it differently, that's the state.
Sure. Do you remember exactly the words you used in describing that taillight to Trooper Proctor as you sit here today?
Again, the taillight was cracked and missing pieces.
Okay, I know that's what you're testifying to today, Miss McCabe. We're all aware of that. You've said it 4 or 5 times now. What I'm asking you is, what did you tell him?
The lawyer's getting all pissy with it, all pissed off. All right, but I read in this report that you just said it was cracked, and it was just cracked, so if you noticed that it was cracked before, maybe, something else had happened. No, I noticed that it was cracked and pieces were missing. Okay, that's enough.
On January 29th, that's my question. Do you remember the exact words you used to him on the 29th?
I believe I said it was cracked and missing pieces.
Do you know that, or are you guessing?
I'm not guessing.
Okay. Do you remember that specifically?
I remember describing it as cracked and missing pieces.
Do you remember saying it had a crack, or she saw a crack in it?
That's so crazy. When you look at the evidence, then you have to remember what you said, when you said it, to how you said it, to what they were doing, what the notes were taking, this and that and everything else. People don't just operate like that, If what I think is really good when an incident happens is for somebody to just sit down and then take as descriptive, be as descriptive as possible, take the most descriptive notes that you can take, and then that'll be your main report. That'll be the affidavit that I turn into the police, and I turned in the affidavit, the moment that it had happened. So I sat myself down, I thought about all the things that had happened, and this will be the definitive, thing that I remember. I'll look back at this, and it'll refresh my memory, because the memory is weird. The longer that something goes on that you don't think about it, it fades. But if you write it down and it was true when you wrote it down, so when you read it again, then your memory is reinforced, because it's what you remember. And then even when it's reinforced, you might be able to think of some new things or different things that other people hadn't seen. I almost feel like, I don't know, I've just been around a lot of disagreeable people, but somebody could just kind of keep asking you the same question or asking a different question and try to twist your word into something else. I trust Jennifer McCabe. I like how she answers her questions.
I do not remember saying that, no.
Would it refresh your recollection to look at a copy of his notes?
Those are his notes.
Miss McCabe, we can do this all day. Would it refresh your recollection to look at a copy of his notes? If it wouldn't, just tell us.
No, it wouldn't.
Okay.
Miss McCabe, we could just do this all day. If I looked at his notes, then I would see that he had wrote down this one thing, and then maybe he had heard something else. I would say he probably just wrote, there's a crack in the thing, so he just wrote down one little piece of the thing, not writing all the stuff down. We're really getting into the minutia here. Let's take a listen to some of this. I'll do this for one more minute.
Who is this from, and who is it to?
This is from me to Nicole, to Brian, to Matt.
What's the timestamp on this text?
2:55.
Same minute that you sent the last text?
Yes.
She's telling him everything?
Yes.
And then you follow up with what?
All the stuff.
Next text, please. Who is this responsive text from?
This is from Matt to myself, Nicole, and Brian.
And what's the timestamp on this?
4:35.
What does this read?
Yep, if she pleads out, it will end. If she fights it, it will be an episode.
Who's she?
I'm assuming that would be Miss Reed.
Next text, please. Who's this from, and who's it to?
This is from Nicole to me, to Matt, and to Brian.
And what does this read?
She liked the text above.
The previous text?
Yes.
Meaning like a thumbs up or a like?
Yeah, it just says liked, so.
The one that reads, yeah, if she pleads, it will end. If she fights, it will be an episode.